the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor. The number one reason. You're going to learn in just a moment what that reason is. You want to know what it is? Come join me for a moment as I share with you some really cool information. All right, so we're going to get started in just a minute. You're going to see my fancy ticker tape go by. My fancy world-famous ticker tape, three-dimensional no less, on a fancy piece of paper in multicolor, both black and red. Here we are. We're talking about the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor after you've brought a lawsuit against him. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be huge. It's going to be amazing. I just said that, right? It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be educational. It's going to be interesting. Why? Because you're going to learn the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor after. For those of you who don't know, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. So here we are today talking about the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor. Why not? Well, come join us as I share with you exactly why you won't do this and why you should not do it. All right? As you see my fancy ticker tape go by, better than any graphic you're going to see on CNN, better than any graphic you're going to see on MSNBC or on Fox News or anywhere else, because this is a three-dimensional graphic. You can't find this anywhere except right here. How do you like that? It's amazing. So we're going to get started in just a moment. And if you're joining me, what I want you to do, if you have, first of all, I want you to go ahead and say hi to me in the comment section. And if you have questions during the course of my discussion, of course, I want you to ask those questions. I'll be happy to answer them. All right. So we're just about ready to get started because today's topic is the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor after you have sued him. All right, everybody, let's get started. I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. And today's video topic, as I've just mentioned, is the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor. So here's the scenario. Let's say, for example, you loved your doctor, right? You were receiving medical care and treatment with your doctor for many, many years. And you would go to him and you'd bring your family to him. And you absolutely loved going to him because everything he did for you was right in every single instance. Except for this one time. This one time you believe that your doctor was careless. This one time his carelessness was a cause of your injury. And your injury is obviously significant or permanent. And now here's the question. What do you do next? Now your friends are telling you, hey, you need to bring a lawsuit in order to obtain money as a form of compensation for all of the harms and losses and injuries that you've suffered. And now you're saying, no, I can't do that. I love this guy. I love this person. He's helped me so much. I put my life in his hands. I trusted him. How can you do that? So you're racked with this guilt. You're racked with understanding, trying to understand how you could possibly how you could possibly bring a lawsuit against this person whom you loved. Excuse me. You put your life in this doctor's hands. You trusted him. And now you are racked with guilt. Hey, Ann, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. Today, we're talking about the number one reason not to write your doctor an apology letter after you've decided to sue him. Very important for those patients, for those people who feel this guilt, this overwhelming guilt for somebody that they trusted, this guilt for knowing that they have to sue this person to get some sort of compensation for all their harms and losses and injuries that they suffered, but they're racked with this guilt, and they feel terrible. And they're deciding whether or not to even go forward with a lawsuit. Finally, they're convinced by their family to go ahead that this is the only way that they're going to get any type of money as compensation for all the injuries and for the doctor's carelessness. So now, here's what happens. During the course of this litigation, that's going to go on for 2 to 3 years, at least here in New York. That's how long it takes. 2 to 3 years, you're now going to go ahead with the lawsuit. And now, I guarantee you, over and over again, repeatedly, you're going to have this guilt, this ongoing guilt in your mind that says, I can't believe I'm suing him. I can't believe I'm doing this. You're going to feel bad. You are going to feel guilty. Why? Because of the fact that you liked your doctor. And now you have no choice but to bring a lawsuit. He's not going to voluntarily write you a check and say, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this. Here now are damages. Here's a check for all the money that you deserve. No, 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 that's not how it works. That's not how any of it works. So, what happens next? So the topic of today's video is the number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor. I know some people turn around and say, hey, Mr. Oginski, would it be okay if I write a letter to the doctor telling him, listen, I'm so sorry for having to bring a lawsuit against you, but I have no choice. That's the only way I can try and get money to compensate me for my lost earnings, to compensate me for the pain and the suffering that I've endured. That's what they want to do. So they want to put pen to paper and now write out this whole long missive explaining to the doctor why they had no choice. They had to do it. They had to go forward with a lawsuit to try and get money as compensation. There was no other way. The doctor was not going to voluntarily do this to give you all the money that's going to compensate you for all of your injuries that were caused because of his carelessness. So now, let me ask you this question. Do you think it's a good idea? What do you think, Ann? You think it's a good idea to go ahead and write an apology letter? You write an apology letter to the doctor in the middle of your lawsuit and says, Dear doctor, I just want to let you know I'm so sorry for suing you. I had no choice because my injuries were so bad, because nobody was ever going to compensate me, help me pay for my kids' college education, or pay for my bills or my mortgage. Do you think that's a good idea? The answer is no, it's not a good idea. And now, as your case goes to trial, and now you're going to go into court, and you're going to see the doctor whom you have sued. The doctor's going to be in court. He's going to be sitting in there on the days that he's scheduled to be in there. Not every day, likely, but he's going to be there most of the days, or on the days that he is there. You are so tempted to walk up to him and say, hey, Dr. Jones, I just want to let you know how sorry I am for having to bring a lawsuit against you and to drag you through this litigation process. Do you think that's a good idea? The answer is no, it's not. You want to know why it's not a good idea to tell him that at trial? You want to know why it's not a good idea to write an apology letter to the doctor? I'll tell you why. The reason why you don't want to do that is even though you have these feelings of guilt, even though you have these feelings of dread and your desire not to go ahead and bring a lawsuit, the reality is that when you write a letter, you put pen to paper or write it on the computer and now print it out and mail it to him. The moment you do that, the doctor will then receive it at some point afterwards. And now, during the course of your lawsuit, the defense lawyer is going to use that apology letter against you. That's what will happen. And if you do this apology at the time of trial and pull the doctor during a break, pull him over and say, listen, doctor, I just want to let you know I'm so sorry for having to bring a lawsuit against you. The defense lawyer, first of all, the doctor's going to tell his attorney. The attorney is now going to use that to cross-examine you to show to the jury that you really didn't want to bring this lawsuit, that somebody forced you or coerced you to do this, that you really had no business bringing a lawsuit, but somebody twisted your arm, or somebody encouraged you to do that because you are money hungry. That's the implication that's going to come about if you write an apology letter to the doctor, or if you apologize to the doctor in court during a break. That's exactly what will happen. And now the defense lawyer is going to make you out to be simply a money-grubbing, a money-hungry client, a litigant who's trying to do nothing more than get money and extort money from the doctor to go ahead and pay for your damages, to pay for your pain and suffering. Hang on, let me take a break. So that's the upside of what happens, the upshot of exactly what happens if you decide that your guilt is so overwhelming you feel the need to go ahead and write this apology letter to the doctor. And you know what? That may be heartfelt. You may want to do that, almost like a confessional. Doctor, I'm so sorry. I never meant to do this, but I had no choice because. And now you go ahead and give this long-winded explanation. He's not going to really care. The fact of the matter is that you did sue him. The fact of the matter is that you sued him because he was careless, and his carelessness was a cause of your injury. So, the key question, the key topic we're talking about today is, The number one reason not to write an apology letter to your doctor is because that letter is going to be used against you at the time of trial. It's going to be used against you during the course of your pretrial testimony when the defense lawyer pulls it out and says, "Hey, Mrs. Gold, isn't it true that you wrote an apology letter to my client, the doctor?" "Yes, I did." "Well, I happen to have a copy of it. Let's go through it, shall we?" And now he's going to go ahead and have you explain in detail exactly why you wrote it, what you meant in the comments that you wrote. Why? Because he ultimately will want to show the jury exactly what you were thinking and why you wrote this. And that's a very key point. So the bottom line is, the defense lawyer is going to use this apology letter against you during the course of your trial, during the course of your litigation. So now it's going to seem as if you were forced to do this. You had no business bringing this lawsuit. It's designed solely to get money, and he's going to claim that you don't deserve this, that there was no wrongdoing, and that the wrongdoing did not cause your injuries, and that your injuries are not as bad as you claim them to be. That's exactly what's going to happen. So why do I share this great information with you? I share it with you just to give you an inside look at what goes on in these types of cases here in New York involving an injured patient who decides that their guilt is so overwhelming that they have no choice but they want to write that apology letter to the doctor for bringing a lawsuit against them. And now, hopefully by writing that letter, they're going to feel so wonderful, when in fact, that's going to be used against them during the trial and during the litigation process known as discovery. You know, I recognize you're watching this video because it came up in your Facebook feed. Well, hopefully you started watching it and realized how informative and educational and interesting and entertaining this is. And if so, what I encourage you to do is share it with all your friends. Very important. Press the like button and share it with all your friends. Come on, thumbs up. And then, if you're watching this on the replay on YouTube, well, in all likelihood, you're looking for information about how these types of cases work, especially here in New York. Well, if your matter did happen here in New York, and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit, but haven't done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, then what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your legal questions. You know, this is something I do every single day, and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at, follow the bouncing finger, ready? 516-487-8207. That's the bouncing finger. Or by email at, here we go, Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.